Okay, one thing that I wanted to also point out that seemed to work well with as far as like a housekeeping kind of thing, the first questions that most people are going to ask is, how do I get started with this? How do I make this start working within Sage Online and ISIS? So in this case, we've actually put together a document that gives you a little bit more information as far as what you're going to need to do. In this case, it'll be on, I believe, AIA Connect, and you'll be able to see this right here. It says, in preparation, make sure you read this in blue. That allows you to keep track of what you need to do ahead of time. I can't stress enough, too, that you, whether or not you have your contacts in Sage Online or in ISIS, to make sure that you have the most cleaned up area as possible before we actually merge both systems together, because that's exactly what it's going to do. It's actually going to move whatever contacts that you have in Sage Online, it's going to move those over into ISIS, and if it goes the other direction, and if you're in ISIS, it's going to be moving the other direction into Sage Online. That being said, some additional things that you might have questions about. If you go down here to the bottom of this document, it gives you how it works. After the initial sync, how will it synchronize as follows? Sage to ISIS, here's the number of criteria, and then the other direction from ISIS to Sage, here's some other ones. I'm not going to go through each of these because, again, they can open up quite a few individual questions. So the main purpose of this webinar is to get you more familiar with the SAGE CRM. Okay, so now that we're actually in the Sage Online program, what I'm demoing for you is version 11.0. So you guys will get this version here within the next, I would say, a week or so. So it's got a little bit of icon differentials, but for the most part, it looks fairly similar to what you are comfortable with. Now, in the beginning, whenever you're starting to manage your contacts, the first thing I want to point out is the ability to upload those. So I know that, for instance, there's a couple of you that have your active clients within ISIS, but then you have prospects in some other kind of format, either where it's already in Sage Online that you've been just manually putting in, or you've got a spreadsheet that you've been keeping up with, or say you've got another program that's out there that can export your contacts. Well, in this case, we allow you to do just that, import those contacts that you have from another area into the Sage CRM. So what I'm going to show you here is how to do that. You go to the tools up at the very top, and you'll select import clients, and then you've got a couple of different options. Now from here you can choose Outlook, whereas if you've got some of these contacts in Outlook, it'll preload them through the system. So what it's doing right now is it's looking through my Outlook contacts, and it's going to load virtually everybody that I've got in there. Now that's not to say that I have to choose all of those people. So as I go through, I could choose one or the other and then keep on going if I don't want, Aunt Sally in there. Now don't worry, if you already have some people in there, it'll check for duplicates and it will update existing records, so that way you won't have to worry about running into two contact records for a client. Now another way to do this, which is probably a little bit more applicable for a lot of you, is going to be doing it in Excel. So if you're going to be doing it from an Excel format, it gives you the instructions right over here to the right-hand side. So if I click on this, it opens up what we call a knowledge base article for Sage, and this is going to tell you exactly how to do this. Now you really do need to pay attention to this, because this indicates what format or that you need to have the spreadsheet into. So right here you can see where you've got your company, main, phone, fax, email address. Well, you need to pay attention to all these down here as well. So if you've got your groups already set up, then you can choose, how you need to put those associated in there. It'll make a little bit more sense, and I'll circle back to this here whenever we get about 3/4 of the way through the presentation. But then same thing for, shipping account number, rating, sales potential. All these kind of things are a lot easier to manage before you upload them, because once you upload them into the Sage Online CRM, then you'd have to go through one by one and make any kind of edits or changes that you need to do. So if you can manage that during the initial upload, it makes it a lot easier. So what you'll do is, after you take a look at this and you have a pretty good understanding of the format, you'll hit download the version of the Excel template. And this is just going to basically open up a spreadsheet. And then from here, you'll be able to see up here you've got a little sample company, so it gives you an idea of what you're trying to see. Let's see if I can make this a little bigger. So company, main phone, address, as you go across the screen. Custom group, that's what I was referring to right then. Tax rate, all that good stuff. Now, that's not to say that you have to fill out every single one of these columns as you go across, but again, it does help out so where you already have your main contact already preloaded, so you're not having to edit all that later on down the line. Okay. Let me get out of that. Okay, so now you actually understand a little bit how to upload those whenever you're initially getting started. I will say that it's also probably a habit to go ahead and do this upload if you've got it from another spreadsheet. Go ahead and do this ahead of time before you do the syncing, before you get set up with doing the syncing between us and ISIS. That way it makes it a little bit easier in case there is a little bit of formatting issue. You can fix that before it actually syncs into the ISIS system. Then you're having to manage it in both and fix it in both systems. So again, they're in complete sync. The syncing happens roughly once every 2 minutes, I think. So it's fairly quick. As you go in one, you're going to get it go into the others. Okay. So now let's actually move into demonstrating how this CRM works. So in this case, the reason why I'm going to start with the presentation is because it's going to enforce the interaction of not having to keep up with your tasks in regards to what you're doing in your daily task. It'll actually automatically make notes of that within the CRM. So I'll show you in the history area after we put together this presentation. So in this case, I'm going to tag a couple of products, hit add to presentation at the bottom, and that's just going to open up my presentation publisher. Most of you are fairly familiar with this. So it just added all these products in. And then I'm going to start at the introduction area. So if you've already preloaded all of your contacts into the system, then you're going to see a drop-down list of all of your contacts here. So in this case, say I want to send this to AAA Chevrolet and my main contact is John Smith. So I'm not worried about that. Everything already is preloaded for me to send out this presentation ahead of time. So as we go through, I'm going to go to the publish area. Email as an attachment. I'll hit create. And then you can see my presentation. It's going to go to John. Okay. You can even take it a step further and actually send it as a web link instead. So that way your customers, if they have a tough time opening up attachments, you can see that they can just click on this link. And then lastly, after you get this all said and done, you're going to want to save it. So up here in the top left, you'll see where it says save. And I want to save it to my Chevy 2015 and then my mugs. So that's the folder I've got set aside. Okay, so now that we've done all this, I've already managed some information. I want to see what's going on with my day-to-day. What do I have for the day whenever I first log into Sage Online? So in order to do that, there's two ways to get there. You can either come up to the top icons and click on the word clients that I'm highlighting right there. Or if you're just opening up Sage Online, you can come down here to the clients/CRM, and it does the same thing. And then this is going to start me off with the snapshot of the day. So up at the very top, you'll see where you got snapshot, task scheduler, and then the setup. So again, the snapshot tells you just that, exactly what I need to do. These are all tasks that are associated. Now you can also visually come down here to the bottom and you can see the calendar, and it's got little dots of everything that I need to do. Now if it's in red, that means that I had not finished those tasks, and that means I need to go back and make sure that I get those finished up before I move on. Green means that that's just something that's either upcoming or something that I need to do today. And then, of course, to the right, you've got your quick stats that give you a little bit more information as far as what you've done recently, how many presentations you've sent, and all that good stuff. Now, what I want to do is show you how to set up the actual CRM ahead of time and really make this your own kind of version so that way it works with you as you go about your daily routine. So in order to do that, if you come up here to the top and you hit Setup, this allows me to determine exactly what I want my drop-down menus to consist of. So in this case, we were talking about client groups, and you can see just over to the left what, just within my logos and some of these other things, you can see kind of what different groups I could possibly put together. So in this case, I have my automotive group because I've got Chevrolet and Ford. I can have churches or large account possibility or locals or manufacturing, nonprofits. You choose exactly what you want to do, restaurants, and then you hit New just to add them in, whatever kind of new one that you want. It works the same way for a lot of different drop-downs that I'll show you in here in just a second when we get to an actual client. But client groups is going to be one of the main ones that you're going to focus on and really get outside the box of different distinguishing factors that you can associate with a particular client. Because that's what's going to make this CRM work the best for you, is really thinking of different ways, just like I said, whether it's a nonprofit or large account or anything that you want to do to segment out customers. Client sources, client history, task subject categories, cold call follow-up, other, referral. The ones that are in gray are ones that you can't modify. So these are just ones that we have as standards, and so we got to start with something, but then you can also add to it, so that way you can make it your own. Task result categories. So after you actually finish a task, what do you want it to say as that you've done with it? You've either deleted it, you have customer that's interested, they left a message, so you can choose exactly what you want in regards to that. And then you've got some other options down here at the bottom. So you can choose, how often that you want to set clients to inactive. You can also delete all of your client records, start from scratch. You've got a couple of different options here. So again, I'm going to cancel. But all this area is done in the setup right here to the right. Okay, one question that somebody asked here that I can see, it says, are we able to choose more than one client group for a company? Absolutely. You're going to want to choose probably 2 to 3 to 4. You could even choose, as many as you possibly can. The more things that you can attribute to a company, the better. So I'll show you here in just a second what I've been able to do with some of these other ones. So say we actually go over to one of these clients, and it's AAA Chevrolet. This is my client that I just sent this presentation to. So as I highlight them on this left-hand side, I can come down and it'll give me my phone number, website, all the mailing address, all that information is right there available. But if I hit Edit down on the bottom, this allows me to do just that, edit everything that I want. So this is where I can upload my customer's logo, change the company name, and as you go through, you can see the status. I can make them active or a prospect or inactive. And again, all this, what I'm putting in here is what's going to funnel over into ISIS. Account number, and then who is the owner of this particular account. So me, I'm logged in as a test user, so I actually own this account. And then what sales reps are associated with this. So you might have a situation where you have multiple sales reps within your office that are attributed to an account. So you can tag multiple users associated with that so they can see all the same activity and get the same tasks for a particular client. Now, as you go down, you can see the industry associated. Now, industry, you can only choose one industry type. But then the groups, again, I've got them listed because they're with Chevrolet. They're in the automotive category. But then as I go through, they can also theoretically be in the manufacturing category if it was a plant. And then as you go down, you could even add large accounts. Say it's a large account that's a big dealership or a big manufacturing plant. So you can attribute a whole bunch of different groups to a particular client base. And again, I'll show you where this comes into play and why you're going to want to do this here in just a second when we start setting up tasks. Okay, so as we keep going, you've got your tax rate if you've got particular taxes associated, payment terms. You can even modify the pricing for a given client. So if I hit Edit under the pricing area, this box might look fairly familiar. This is the same box that pops up whenever you're putting together a presentation. So if you have a situation with a client where you typically give them, say, 10% off, I can hit Apply, and then now anytime I put a presentation together with this client, it's going to go ahead and take 10% off of all the products in the presentation without me even having to remember that. So again, just another way to kind of help manage your clients and so you don't forget about some of these things. Okay, so now as we go through shipping carrier, their account number, and then what's the source? Cold call, friend, flyer, any of that good stuff. So in this case, cold call, and I spoke with John, their used car sales manager. That's how I got it. As you go through social media, any other general notes associated, and then you can choose if you want to hide this contact from everyone or make it to where it's visible for everyone in your company to be able to see this. This is not AIA as a whole, it's just your particular account, everyone within your account to be able to see this. Okay, so I'm going to hit save. Now up at the top, you'll also notice where it says rating and potential. Now I really like this feature because it does kind of segment out two separate things where sometimes you can have a client that is really easy to work with, meaning they have a high rating, but they really just don't have a lot of budget, and so they might have a low potential. Then again, you might have somebody that's extremely difficult to work with, but they've got a massive budget, and so it's worth the hassle. So you can see that there's a difference between a rating of a good customer. Maybe they have good payment terms, they pay on time, so then that way they're going to have a high rating. So it's up to you to determine what that means, but at least you can understand the differential between what the rating is and what the potential is. Let me move this over. It'll start off with everybody being the rating and the potential middle of the road. Okay, so next door to the general tab is going to be the offices. And so in this case, you'll start with, just your generic office, the Addison office, and then now we have the ability within the new version of Sage Online to add multiple offices. So you've got the Dallas office right here, and so I can just add a new office and add as needed. It's fairly simple, just hit same thing, office name, address, phone numbers, and then you can choose if that's now going to be the main office. So it's pretty straightforward. Then next door to that is going to be contacts. It works virtually the same way. You can add a new contact. Type in first and last name, their job role, what office they're going to be located in, and then you just fill out all the information as needed. You can even upload their picture if you want to do that. Okay, so you'll also notice that John Smith is my main contact right here. How I know that is because it's got a blue star. So if I click on John Smith and I hit edit, you'll notice that it says he's the main contact. So that box is checked. Somebody always has to be the main contact. If nobody's selected, it's going to be the first person that's listed as the main contact. So as I go to Bob Jones, you can see that he's not contacted, or he's not checked as being the main contact. Okay, so now let's keep going down the list here, your tasks. So I've already got a couple of tasks that are set up. Some of them are in red because you can see right there it's a high priority. But then I'll show you also how to add a new task here in just a second. But this is the due date of when this task is associated. So you have tasks based on groups, and then you have tasks based on customers. So if you have specific agenda items that you need to contact customers at a specific time frame, then you're going to want to use the generic tasking for a customer, right? So in this case, I'll just click on one of these so you can see what's going on. So this is the client. The due date was 4/23, and then a specific time frame, and then who owned it, which is me, the test user, and then it's just basically the subject of follow-up, and then, hey, I needed a follow-up on a presentation I sent over earlier this week. So great. Now I need to see, all right, I called the customer up and ended up having a conversation, and then they ended up placing the order. So the result, the completed task is the result is they placed an order, right? So I can even reschedule this task to follow up at a later date. If I say left a message, or in this case, they placed an order, and then I can say follow up on shipping details. And I'll hit completed. Now when I do that, because I chose to reschedule an additional task, it's going to, open up a new area for me, the due date, 4/24. And so I can say I want to do a week out, check out the situation on that, on the shipping status of it. and then just hit add. And now it's going to add that to May 1st. Now say I've got another task that's coming up, so I'll show you from the beginning on how to do that. So in order to do that, you just over to the far right hand side, hit new task, and again, it's the same information that was grayed out before. The due date is whenever, and I hit the owner, test user, and say this is a high priority. And then, you know what, say I forgot, this is a return call, it's a high priority, and it's because last minute order on golf tournament towels. So I need to call them back, and it needs to be on Monday in order to go over this stuff. So I'll hit add, and then you'll notice again that's going to move up highest on the list because that's the high priority. And so now that we've done a little bit of this, I'll show you just a second of where that comes back into your snapshot of the day. So as we go through, we've got just a couple of more tabs to go. You've got the orders right here. And then for you guys, that's not going to be visible because you do place all of your orders through ISIS. But then next door to that is the history area. Now the history is where a lot of the information is going to be that you want to see. So if I spread this out a little bit, you can see that I've done quite a bit just today, 424, right? So as I go through here, I've updated client information, and then you'll notice that I have one that says untitled presentation email, published as a web link, and then the presentation created. So if I click on this, this is that same presentation that I just created and I saved to my folder. So I can hit open this presentation, and it's going to go ahead and open up that same presentation I just had from earlier with my client. So it allows you to keep track of everything that you're doing as you're doing it. You can also segment out. You can see where it says completed task, I left a message, scheduled a new task for something else different. Down here at the bottom, I completed a task and I placed the order. So you can really keep track of all this. And then what's nice is up here with the categories drop down. And again, you can choose these to be whatever you need them to be. And you can say, hey, I just don't want to see any emails that I've sent or a task. I want to know what all the tasks that I've set for a particular client. And so it'll narrow those down. You can even set it up by word. So if I were to type in the word key, as in keychain, you can see that this is my task associated with that particular word. You have your date range, but anyways, it's really helpful to have this. Now the beauty of this too is anything that I put here and that's visible here is also visible within Sage Web or Sage Mobile. Now Sage Mobile is going to be the one that I really enjoy having this history available. So if I'm out visiting a client and they come to me and they go, hey, when was the last time you sent over this particular thing, or when was the last time you called on this, you can go straight to your history and you know exactly when you sent that presentation. You can click that same link and then bring that presentation right up in front of them, all from your iPad or your iPhone or anything. Pretty nice. Now, if I'm sitting here in the history and I don't have an actual task associated, I just want to add a note, I can come over here to the top right and hit Add History. And I can choose what kind of category and the subject and the details, and then I can even attach a file if I wanted to attach a logo or anything like that, or scan a document, or even schedule a follow-up task based on whatever I'm putting in here. So again, you have all those options associated. Now the last thing I want to show you on this page is it's very hard to see, but it's down on the very bottom down here, and it says you can automatically add emails to your history by including Add History at sageonlinecrm.com and your CC or BCC list of your email. Or you can just hit the email button within the Sage Online CRM. Now what this means is basically if you set this up, so say if you have that address, again it's add history at sageonlinecrm.com. If you add that to your Outlook, what it's going to do is any emails that you send to your customer, it's going to put a copy of that email within your Sage Online CRM in the history area for that client. So it's really nice being able to keep track of all of your emails, and you don't have to worry about filing them away. And you can still file them away in your Outlook or do whatever, but it's also still nice to have them associated with your daily tasks as you're in Sage Online, so you're not having to go backwards and forwards to multiple systems. So in this case, if I were to do the same thing, and say I was in the actual program right here, and I'm going to contacts, and I hit Bob Jones, and I want to send Bob a new email. It's going to go Bob at AAA Chevy, and then you'll notice down here it says add history at sageonlinecrm.com. So it just does that automatically whenever you're doing it from Sage Online. However, again, you can set that up to be a default within your Outlook if you want to make that always the case. Now, another question sometimes people ask is, what if I'm not emailing somebody that's a client? What if I'm emailing, again, Aunt Sally, who's not even within our industry? Well, nothing's going to happen. I mean, that email, what happens is that gets sent to our servers, and Aunt Sally's not part of your list, so then it just gets dumped, right? So we don't have to worry about trying to take that out if it's not a client. Okay. So we covered the history. That's where we were before. And then the last thing over here is your stats. And so it just gives you a little bit more criteria of what kind of activity you've done. So you can see the last update, the last contact, when's the last time I sent them a presentation, and then you even have these charts, these graphs right here below. Okay, so now that we've got our clients set up, let's move over here to the left-hand side, and so we've got them all listed out. Now this is based on the companies, but I can also change these to contacts. So if I can't remember the company name of somebody, I can actually just switch to contacts, and I can even sort by first name or last name. And then just do a search box in order to find that, or click the ABCD alphabet over here to the left-hand side in order to get to a particular area. But say in this case, what you're going to want to do is if you come over here to the right-hand side and you hit Filter. So if I click on Filter, this allows me to segment out customers by a number of different ways. So I can segment them out by active customers or prospects or ratings. So say I'm in a pickle and I don't even care. I'll deal with whoever I need to, but I've got to find people that are ready to spend money. So I'll put the minimum sales potential at, hey, this is high, high, high. They'll spend a lot of money, right? And then a minimum rating of a star in order to find those people. Now then you can come down even further. So this is where it comes into play a little bit. So if I say, oh, here's all my groups, and I just want to see all my automotive customers. So I can check automotive, or I can also check automotive and large account. And so then all my large account customers will come into play. So you can see how this all can work as you add particular areas to things. And then you can segment it by just your account rep, or even clients that are shared by other colleagues, all that good stuff. So again, those filters are there, and again, it all depends on what kind of groups that you have available as to how you can segment these things out. But what's nice about it, so if I choose large account, and I've got these 4 accounts right here, then I can just tag all 4 of these and send them all some kind of a special automotive email or large account email, something that's associated. And I'll just hit new email. And what it's going to do is it's going to put everybody in the BCC field because it knows that you're not going to want Bob at Chevy to know that you're also sending this email to Fletch at Ford, right? And then, of course, at the very end, it's got the add history at Sage Online CRM, so it'll put copies of those emails in each one of those customers' folders. Okay, let me check these. Okay, so we've got the filters set up, and you can see your client base as you go through. And then we've done new email. Now let's actually look at adding a global task. So if I hit, well, this is for a particular customer. It's keep on going down the line. We're going to actually do the task scheduler right here. So this is the one that allows you to set them up based on a particular group. So you can see I've already got some that are set up here. Large account follow-up, automotive quarterly follow-up, food and beverage quarterly follow-up. So you can see what I've got in relation to these. If I want to do a new one, I can just hit new recurring task, and I can name, say, automotive quarterly, or let's say annual review. And I want this to apply to the following groups. And it's going to be my automotive groups, but I can choose additional groups assigned to the client's account rep, priority, it's going to be, pretty normal. And the subject is just basically follow-up. Check up on annual spend and see about budget for next year. Okay, I want it to be active. I want them to schedule those tasks now, and I want it to be annually. So you choose how often that you want to be contacted. So if it says annually, and then how often annually? Well, it can be once a year or twice a year or once every 2 years. So quarterly, it can run it once a quarter or twice a quarter. So you can see how that works. Then you have the start date, and then you can even put in the last run. So I hit save to this. That's going to be now something for all of my automotive clients. That's going to be a task for that particular time frame. So now if I come back to the snapshot of the day, you'll see that I've got a number of different ones that I need to do. And again, you can see return call at the highest priority. I need to follow up on the tracking numbers. That's coming up on the 21st. And then as we go through, those will just keep stacking up as we go. Okay. So now you can see exactly how this all works for you and how it interacts as far as like going through the history and all that good stuff as well. Now, the big thing too to realize is then the same thing that you see here as far as your snapshot of the day, your task scheduler, all that good stuff, as well as your calendar, that's all, again, going to be visible in whichever area that you're in within any of our platforms. So if you're within Sage Web, you can log in and see all that information. And again, Sage Mobile, all that stuff's available too. So that's pretty much it in regards to the Sage Online CRM piece of it. I know that everyone has questions about as far as how that everything is going to sync. What you're going to need to do whenever you're ready is you're going to want to make sure that you clean up all of your ISIS contacts first. And so marketing services is going to help you out with that within at AIA Corporation. So you'll want to contact them first. They're going to make sure that you've gone through those steps, and then they'll end up contacting us in order to get that turned on for you. The turnaround time is roughly about 48 hours from the time that we get that request, and then all of a sudden you'll just start seeing all of your ISIS contacts within the left-hand side of your Sage Online CRM, and then vice versa. If you've already uploaded your list within the Sage Online CRM, you'll start to see those within the ISIS platform. Some other people asked how often do things get synced. They get synced, I believe it's every minute or two. It's very, very fast. By the time you look in one, it's going to be in the other. So it's not something where you're going to have to wait overnight for a new sync to happen. So again, what you do in one is going to be reflected in the other, as well as in any changes. So if you make a change in Sage Online, it's going to make that change within ISIS and vice versa. So it's going to assume that you're trying to keep track of both as if they were one. And theoretically, they are one now. So some of these questions over here, one of the questions that I'm going to go through, or I'm just going to look through a few of these. It says, so groups are really tags, basically. Could they be, big pins or Christmas cards or anything like that? And the answer is yes. You can leverage this to be whatever you want. So if it's a product category or anything related to that, you can set up whatever kind of groups or whatever types of products that they typically buy. You can set up as many types of groups and whatever kind of groups that you want to attribute any kind of a customer subset that you would like to eventually group together. So that's why I chose like large groups, but you might want to have one for golf tournaments. So that way you know that each one of these particular contacts always does a golf tournament throughout the year. And then that way you can segment any of that kind of stuff to follow up with them regarding that. So anything like that can be put together. It says, do we have to be in Sage to get the task reminders, or can it be emailed or reminded or texted to you? You can't. Currently, that's not the case. Eventually, we are going to get to the point where you'll be able to do that, where you'll be able to get them emailed to you. But the theory is this is kind of your one-stop shop. Like when you're in here, all of your tasks are going to be available for you to see. And again, all of your devices, whether you're on your laptop or you're on your phone, they'll be available for you to look at as well. The last question, it says, do we have to sync with ISIS? You do not have to sync with ISIS, but again, it's kind of why wouldn't you want to take advantage of this? The whole point of doing this is to make your lives a little bit more efficient. So, if you're going to, there's a lot more chance for error whenever you have two different databases working with it. If you're working in Sage Online and then you have ISIS, you might as well not have to keep up with both. Let me see if there's a couple other ones. Will ISIS sales info be passed to Sage Online CRM as well? It will not. Currently, we're just talking about contact information. However, that's not to say that in the future, as we expand upon the integrations, that there could be other things that end up getting passed from one another. So again, this is just the first initial sync between the two platforms. But we'll see as we need to open up additional projects what that could entail. And so the last question that I'll do is, can you repeat how we sync with ISIS? So basically what you're going to do is contact AIA Marketing, and they're going to give you a form to fill out. And then at that same time, they're going to educate you regarding this area. Basically, they're going to give you this document that says, hey, in preparation, make sure that you're going through and you're cleaning up both sides of the fence, meaning like make sure that you're cleaning up Sage Online CRM, make sure that you're cleaning up ISIS, and then it'll give you this information as far as how it works, going backwards and forwards, so that way you're aware. Below here, it kind of gives you a layout of what the screens look like so you can see how things are going to match up. So this is a really cool document to take a look at before we actually do anything. And then you'll import all of your contacts from Sage, from any kind of other tool that you got into the Sage Online CRM. Make sure that looks pretty and everything looks nice. Then whenever that looks good, and then once your ISIS contacts look good, then AIA Corporate will let us know that you're ready to go. And then within 48 hours from that time frame is when we'll push the sync on. And then all those contacts will then be in sync. And yes, that form is posted on AIA Connect, and if not, it's going to be shortly. Okay, so I think that's pretty good as far as getting us started with this particular initiative. We're really excited about this. I think it'll make it a lot easier for you guys to be out in the field, as well as then reduce a lot of the redundancy of keeping up with your customer list. So we're really excited. And again, if you have any questions, feel free to contact your rep here at Sage or AIA, and we'll make sure that you get your questions answered. All right, thanks a lot. Everyone have a great day.